Hi, hello. So today, for the first time ever, I'm going to do a TBR jar picks my March reads, which I've never done before, but I've seen so many people on YouTube and TikTok and other places do this to pick their next month's TBR. I decided that I wanted to join in on the fun and try it for the month of March. So we'll see how it goes because I am honestly such a mood reader. I kind of have an idea of the books that I want to read for the month, but as I'm reading and finishing a book and then looking to pick for the next book, I just go based off what I find most interesting at that time. Last year, I tracked all of my reads on Goodreads and Storygraph, so I knew how many books I read each month, and the variance is quite big. One month I could either read 4 books or another month I could read 16 books, and it really falls in between that number. March is going to be a fairly busy month for me. The first week and a half I'm going to be on a vacation, and I already know that I'm not going to be reading a lot during that time. So for this month and for this TBR jar, I'm going to pick 4 books or 4 prompts out of the jar. Also, I didn't want to buy like an actual jar just for the purpose of this video, so you get a little thrifted glass that contains all of the prompts. The first book, it's a popular book you haven't read, which I feel like there's so many. The most popular book in series on my shelf is definitely The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I was so kindly gifted this book and I'm excited to get into it. I honestly don't know too much about the book. I know it's a fantasy and I'm pretty sure it's a YA fantasy, and it's also an urban fantasy. And I do know the plot veers more on the political side as opposed to the romance side, which I know some people don't like, but I think I'll find really interesting. Okay, based on the little plot summary on the back, it sounds like it follows the main character Jude, and Jude's parents were unfortunately unalived, which resulted in her and her sisters to live at the treacherous High Court of Fairy. Sounds like many years later, Jude wants to belong there, despite many of the Fae living in the court despising humans. So she's decided that she's going to win a place at the court. And to do so, she must defy the youngest and most wicked son of the High King, Cardan. Start of every chapter has a little graphic and it's so cute. So hopefully I actually read this in the month of March, but I think I'll be able to do so especially mid-March towards the latter half of March. Let's start a little pile. I'm about to pick book number 2, which is the lowest rated books on my Goodreads, which I don't know off the top of my head, so give me a second to look that up. And currently the lowest rated book on my Goodreads has a 3.52 rating, and that book is Bunny. This is another book that I don't know a ton of details about, which is honestly a common theme of all the books that I purchase and buy. But anyways, the little that I've seen from other people talking about this book, it just sounds like it's going to be a wild ride and you don't know necessarily what's real and what's not. So it sounds like it follows the main character Samantha, and Samantha is a scholarship student at a college. And at this college, there's a clique of rich girls who all call each other Bunny and seem to move and speak as one. And then from there, Samantha receives an invitation to join the Bunnies, which they call themselves the Smut Salon, which is hilarious. As Samantha dives deeper in the bunny world and begins to take part in their monstrous experiments, the edges of reality begin to blur. I can definitely see why people might not like this book. Just based on the plot alone, it sounds like it might be a hit or miss for some people, but I predict that I'm actually going to like this book, so I'm excited to read it in the month of March. Time for book 3, which is a book with yellow on the cover. And for that book, I think I'm going to pick something off my Kindle, and I know the perfect book for that, which is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy, which I currently am checking out on the library, and I'm doing so through the Libby app, which if you don't have the Libby app, it's great. You're able to download digital copies from your local library and read them on your Kindle or your phone. But anyways, the book I'm Glad My Mom Died is a memoir by Jennette McCurdy, and she was on iCarly and Sam and Cat. But this memoir follows Jennette McCurdy, obviously, and her struggles as a former child actor, including several sensitive topics that I'm sure I can't talk about on here. But most of all, her very complicated relationship with her mother. I know I'm very late to the game with reading this book, but I've heard so many good things by other people saying how much they like the book and found it really moving. So I am excited to read this in the month of March. Now for the final book, the fourth book, let's pick a topic, which is a cover with people on it. So I have a couple physical options of covers with people on it. One of them being an oldie, but I think a goodie is Anna and the French Kiss, which I have the original cover of. Anna and the French Kiss is a YA novel, and I believe it follows the main character Anna, and she is sent to boarding school in Paris for her senior year of high school. Now obviously she meets people there and a very handsome guy who quickly becomes her best friend, but unfortunately he is taken. I feel like this could be a good contender given the 3 other books on my March TBR. I want something that's a little light and fluffy and something easy to read. And another book that I have that has a person on the front of the cover, but it's kind of distorted, is Belladonna by Adalyn Grace, which I'm gonna say it counts because like 60% of her face is on the cover. Belladonna follows the main character Signa, and throughout Signa's life, death is always following her, in the sense that all of her parental guardians and figures have mysteriously passed away. So when the matriarch of the family that she's staying with passes away, she strikes an alliance with death itself in order to uncover that mystery. But I've been wanting to read Belladonna for so long, and it sounds like it's the perfect mix between gothic fantasy and romance, which can be another strong contender for this. And then the final book that I have that is more of an abstract take of people on the front cover is The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. And I believe it follows twins that were separated at birth and just how they led different lives as a result of that. But I think out of these 3 options, I'm gonna pick Belladonna. This was a book that was on my February hopeful TBR list, and unfortunately I didn't get to it, but I'm so excited to finally read it. But anyways, that concludes the TBR jar picks my March reads, which include 3 physical copies and 1 digital copy. And I'm gonna say it out loud, so I actually do this, but I'm gonna read The Cruel Prince, I'm gonna read Bunny, I'm gonna read Belladonna, and I'm gonna read I'm Glad My Mom Died. But if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I was super excited for my reads in March and also my trip in March. So hopefully I actually stick to these 4 books, but I feel like I'm able to do so. But on that note, see you next time.